Carlee Russell. I've got her mugshot. Take a look. You're not going to believe this. It's a mugshot. She looks great. She looks rested. She looks happy. This is the woman who disappeared for 48 hours, came back home, said she had been abducted by a white guy with orange hair. She had reported a toddler walking down the street, and then she disappeared. Her family was devastated. Her boyfriend was devastated. But the good news is she wasn't abducted and she was safe. The bad news is she reported an abduction. So as a result, there are now going to be some charges. Let's listen to police.
Good afternoon. Earlier today, Hoover police detectives obtained warrants for the arrest of Carlee Russell through the Hoover Municipal Court for her actions related to faking her kidnapping and subsequently making false statements to detectives as they investigated this case. Her decisions that night created panic and alarm for the citizens of our city and even across the nation as the concern grew that a kidnapper was on the loose using a small child as bait. Numerous law enforcement agencies, both local and federal, began working tirelessly not only to bring Carlee home to her family, but locate a kidnapper that we know now never existed. Many private citizens volunteered their time and energy into looking for a potential kidnapping victim that we know now was never in any danger. As we know, actions can have consequences, and that's why we're here today. This afternoon, Carlee Russell, with the assistance of her attorney, turned herself into the Hoover City Jail, where she was arrested for the following charges: false reporting to law enforcement authorities, Class A misdemeanor, $1,000 bond; falsely reporting an incident, a Class A misdemeanor with a $1,000 bond. Each of these charges carry up to a year in jail and potential fine of $6,000 upon conviction. As I said initially, our focus was bringing Carlee home, and she got home. And then our focus has been to find out if there was a kidnapping. We found out there's not. We work every case like all other law enforcement does.
I've never seen anybody interested in the color of your skin in investigating a criminal case, and I expect, regardless of your gender, your race, when that report is filed, that Alabama law enforcement is going to do its job.
Let me say this first. You can't do what she did. You just can't do it. There are so many legitimately missing people and people being trafficked and missing children that we can't use resources up like this. So that's why there are charges here. But on a side note, the Hoover police chief, best dressed police chief in the country. I mean, every time he's at one of these press conferences, I mean, super sharp. But what I could hear in his voice, and he was restraining it, there's anger. They're really not happy with her because they worked the case and they pulled resources away from other cases. And as a result of all of that, we are where we are. So let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight in Los Angeles, California, the attorney who represented Johnny Depp in his defamation case and won it. He's also a fellow of the American College of Trial Lawyers. Ben Chu is with us. Also joining us in New York City, former senior homicide prosecutor Bernarda Villalona. And in San Diego, California, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Brian Watkins. Great to see everyone. This case, it went viral. Everyone was so out of their minds concerned for this young woman and for the toddler, etc. Ben, what are your initial thoughts here now that she is going to become a criminal defendant?
I certainly understand why she's charged, but it really begs the question of what she was doing in that 48 hours when she was allegedly kidnapped. So that really is something that I'd be interested in knowing.
That's a great point. Bernarda, does that play into trying to figure out what to do with her if and when there's a conviction for this? Like, what were you doing for 48 hours? I think the only thing we know she did for sure was eat Cheez-Its.
The case of Carlee Russell is one that's very disappointing. So what's going to happen in this case? We know that she's charged with 2 misdemeanors, so she faces up to 1 year incarceration on these counts and possibly a $6,000 fine. So when it comes in terms of what will be the sentence if she is found guilty or pleads guilty, it can be jail, it can be probation, it can be community service, it can be a program, it can be some kind of mental treatment, mental health treatment, or some kind of community service combined with the other things that I have mentioned. In the end, the purpose of sentencing is accountability, deterrence, and rehabilitation. My hopes is that she gets the treatment that she needs and that this also deters other people from falsely reporting incidents like this, because the whole world, the country, was at alarm. I was concerned.
Now, speaking of deterrence, Brian Watkins, take a listen to more of the well-dressed chief here talking about his frustration and what he would like to see happen.
Judging from the amount of phone calls and emails that we've received from people all over the country, I know many are shocked and appalled that Ms. Russell is only being charged with 2 misdemeanors, despite all the panic and disruption her actions caused. Let me assure you, I too share the same frustration, but existing laws only allow the charges that were filed to be filed. I can tell you that I will be contacting our state legislatures on behalf of law enforcement in Montgomery and asking them to look at this law applied to these facts and urge them to add an enhancement to current legislation when somebody falsely reports kidnapping or another violent crime.
So, Brian Watkins, do you think we need to do more and make the penalties more severe to deter the Carlee Russells and the Jussie Smollets of the world?
Absolutely. You know, we can't take these actions as just a little hoax or a little prank, because that's not what it is. You know, it's very serious. You know, law enforcement resources are used. People are panicking. Her mother's panicking. I mean, it hurts everyone around, and it hurts real victims of being, you know, kidnapping victims and missing children. So it's serious. It's not a prank. It's not a hoax. It's not funny. I don't know if it really matters on what she was doing in that 48 hours. I mean, she better present some evidence as some mitigating factor to say why she did this. But if she did it to be funny, she did it for no reason at all, I think the penalties need to be greatly increased.
I don't want to make too much of it, Ben, but again, we just saw that mugshot and the smile. And I'm wondering, like, what motivated all of this and what's going through her mind at this moment. And I can't think that this smiling mugshot, while it makes her look good, and I'm glad she's safe, again, I don't know if it helps her at this point.
No, probably not, because that suggests that maybe this was more of a lark rather than some kind of cry for help or some signal of mental illness on her part.
Bernarda, who looks better, her in her mugshot or the chief at his press conference? I mean, they're the 2 images I can't get out of my mind. But on a serious note, like that mugshot, do you think that will be used against her in any way? Does it make it look like she's making light of the whole situation here?
Well, you have to think, for Carlee Russell, this is never going to end. You put her name in a Google search or in social media, hashtag search, this is always going to follow her. So this is something that's going to continue, even that mugshot where she's smiling. So it's going to be used against her, whether it's in a court of law or just in the court of public opinion, it will be used against her. But Vinny, I have to point out something else that's very disturbing about this. And this is why it was important to charge her for this false reporting of this incident. What if a man would have been arrested based on her description, a white man with orange hair, or whatever, anyone else would have been brought in on reasons of suspicion? That's time that person can't get back. That experience of being in jail is something that they will never be able to take back or overcome. Even a second or a minute inside of a prison cell, because of the description that was made from this false allegation, is one why a prosecution has to go forward in this case. You want to prevent things like that.
Absolutely. All right, Ben Chu, Bernarda Villalona, Brian Watkins with us the whole hour.